We good? All right. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here today. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk Barger, if you will, please call the roll.
Mr. Combs? Here. Mr. Barger? Here. Mr. Tudor? Here. Mr. Botkin? Present. Judge Taylor?
Here. At this time, I'm going to invite Brother Ken Felty from Liberty Avenue Baptist to come up and lead us in a word of prayer. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to come before your presence today on behalf of these whom you have chosen, Father, to serve in these leadership positions. Father, long before they were ever elected to the offices that they hold today, we prayed for them. Lord, we didn't know who they were, but you did, and you had your hand upon them, guiding them each and every step of the way. And for that, Father, we're grateful and we're thankful. Thank you for their willingness to serve our county and our cities. And Father, I pray today that, Lord, we realize that it is you, our Father, that has ordained government authority. For Scripture says there is no authority except from God. It also says the authority is God's servant for our good. That thy servants are responsible to you for the way they govern. We ask that as they serve this county, that, Lord, they do so with integrity, with truth, with justice, with grace, and with righteousness. Father, help them when they're making difficult decisions, we pray. Bring to their remembrance thy holy word, which says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. I pray, Father, that you give them vision for our county. Help them to dream big for our people. Help them to walk in thy paths, governing in truth and righteousness, always realizing that one day they will give an account to you for their service here in the office they hold and trust. Father, we pray your protection over them. Lord, when they're out and about, God, we ask that you would build a hedge of protection around them. May they know your presence is with them. God, we just lift them up to you today, thanking you that you, Father, are our shield and our protector. Father, we long for that day when the Prince of Peace will come and reign throughout the world from his throne in the New Jerusalem. In that day when all men will worship him who gave his life as a sacrifice on the cross of Calvary. Until then, bless, we pray, these who stand before us today and use them for thy glory. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we humbly pray and ask this prayer, and amen.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Sheriff. If you will, lead us in the pledge.
Everyone would please stand, face our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Thanks, Sheriff. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Y'all have had a chance to look over the minutes from previous meeting. This time I need a motion and a second. If you approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Tudor?
Yes.
Mr. Botkin?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Treasurer's report will be at our next meeting. I do want to make just a welcome to two newly elected officials. This is their first meeting. Our County Attorney, Jenny Heyman, so welcome to your first fiscal court meeting. And our jailer, Steve Tussey, welcome. And then to all the rest of us, welcome back. Yep, welcome back. So appreciate y'all being here. Yep, glad to be here too. First on the agenda is Madison County Youth in Action, Sheriff's Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. Jennifer, yep, glad you're here.
Okay, so first we're all going to introduce ourselves. So I'm Abby Sheffer, a student at Southern.
Yeah, I'm Trey Shad, a student at Southern.
I'm Zeke Benton, a student at Southern.
Jaden Adams, a student at Southern.
Aiden Willis, a student at Southern.
Levi Benton, a student at Southern.
I'm Angela Cornelius. I'm also a student at Southern.
I'm Emma Farthing and also a student of Southern.
I'm Aubrey Cornelius and I'm a student at Foley.
I'm Tara Wooten, a student at Foley.
I'm Clayton Cornelius, a student at Southern.
I'm Trey Shad, a student at Madison Southern High School. We are a Madison County Youth in Action team, and we are honored to be here today. Our mission is to reduce underage drinking by targeting the social and retail availability of alcohol by supporting the enforcement of underage drinking laws. We participate in a variety of projects designed to raise awareness about underage drinking. We ask the public to send us their nominations for Madison County Youth in Action Officer of the Year. The purpose of the awards is to recognize officers who have gone above and beyond the call of duty. We also want to honor officers who have exemplified the virtues of professionalism and dedication and have demonstrated a distinct pattern of community service to Madison County, particularly in the area of youth, drug, and alcohol prevention. After receiving numerous nominations from community, the winners were selected by us, the Student Volunteers of Youth in Action.
Today we are here to honor nominees from the Madison County Sheriff's Office with first with the Hero Award, and the recipient of the Hero Award is Deputy Brian Eves. Deputy Eves not only serves the community in law enforcement capacity, but he has coached youth baseball and Upward Bound basketball. He has also served as a high school youth leader and participated in Shop with the Cop. Deputy Eves eagerly assisted the Madison County Youth in Action team with Sticker Shock in December of 2017, and he proved to be a great mentor to the youth involved with the activity, and we considered ourselves fortunate to have him in attendance. Congratulations, Deputy Eves.
I don't want to watch your cold.
Speech. Speech.
And now we would like to announce the Madison County Youth in Action Officer of the Year from the Madison County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Michael Stotts is the face of Madison County Sheriff's Office in his role as Public Information Officer. While we may see him being interviewed about crimes occurring locally, he also spends lots of time doing drug prevention. This programming is aimed towards students and adults. We appreciate his dedication to Madison County. Most notably, Deputy Stotts has been an active volunteer with Madison County Youth in Action. He participated in Sticker Shock and has recorded public service announcements at the radio station with us. Deputy Stotts demonstrates integrity in all he does, and our community is lucky to have him. And this kind of commitment is deserving of praise. It is our honor to present Deputy Michael Stotts with Officer of the 2018 Year Award, representing Madison County Sheriff's Office.
What about you, speech?
He's so shy, I don't think he'll talk.
We'd like to thank all of our officers today for their efforts in preventing underage drinking in our community. More youth die each year of alcohol-related fatalities than all illicit drugs combined. So we want you to know that it is important to us as youth that you continue to do all you can to enforce these laws. The word hero is overused, and society often uses it too loosely when they describe athletes, politicians, or movie stars with this term. We consider the true heroes as law enforcement officers who walk in harm's way to protect us every day. They work daily in anonymity to make our community a safe place to live. Your sacrifice is appreciated. We would also like to thank Judge Taylor and the magistrates for allowing us to present these awards today. It was important to us to recognize the exemplary performance of these deputies publicly. You can give the Sheriff's Office another tool in reducing underage drinking by passing a social host ordinance that would hold parents accountable for providing alcohol to youth. We have presented this proposal on a couple of other occasions, but we ask that you consider it again. You have the ability to change attitudes, behavior, and even save lives. Any questions can be directed to our coordinator, Jennifer Webb.
So the girls are going to come around with some, this proposal that we've proposed in the past and some information sheets. And we'd really like for you to consider this. I know at some point at this meeting, you guys are going to talk about the jail being overcrowded, or you're going to talk about our drug problem in Madison County. And this is one way, passing this ordinance is one way that we can change the social norms. All addictions, or there's studies that show that most all addictions start out with alcohol, drinking alcohol at an early age. What this ordinance does is holds parents responsible for throwing these parties and providing alcohol to kids that are under 21. And if you don't think that it happens in our community, you can ask any of these kids, and they're very candid about, in their discussions about what is talked about in school. And this is something that, I have 2 kids. One of my children used to come home and talk about it all the time. It used to be very concerning to her that these parties would happen. When we first proposed this, there were 28 Kentucky counties that had ordinances, but now there are 30. So I think this is something that's catching on in Kentucky. And again, we just like for you to consider it. So thank you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Or even if you don't have questions, if you have problems with it, there's other ways to draft this ordinance. This is just a sample. So I think everybody knows how to get in contact with me, but please give us some feedback.
Is this a sample from you, or is this a sample just from another county?
That is a sample from me.
From you, okay.
And I have all of the ordinances from all of the counties that have them. So I'd be happy to send all of those to you so that you see what other counties have. There are civil and criminal penalties. It just depends on what the governing body wants to impose. But it's been a while ago, but we had a sheriff that talked about how this would be a useful tool. Chief Brock, when he was here, he talked about how it would be a helpful tool for them whenever they're having to go and break up parties where there's underage drinking. The criminal penalties that can be imposed can be used to offset the cost of law enforcement having to go and deal with these parties. So again, it's up to you whether or not you want it to be civil or criminal. But we'd love for you.
Yeah. Have you presented this to Berea and Richmond as well?
We have.
Cities.
We have, and the last time we talked about it, Clark had asked the then county attorney to look at it so that all 3 governments could adopt it, and then it just kind of didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
From there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad y'all are here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Go back to
we
school.
have one more. Clay wants to offer a prayer of protection for our officers.
Y'all pray for me. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to be in this court today, Lord, to help present these awards to these wonderful officers, Lord. I pray that you keep your hand over them and help to lead and guide them and keep them safe and out of harm's way. I pray that you'll help lead everybody in this courtroom and help them to do your will. In your son's holy name, amen.
Hey, I think you should talk your uncle into growing hair like that.
Yeah. He'd look good.
Judge, before they leave, I'd just like to commend each one of you youth for what you're doing. You're stepping up and making a difference in your community. You guys are the faces of the leadership, not only of Madison County, but for Kentucky and throughout the country. And we appreciate what you're doing and making a difference in our community. Thank you so much. And recognize Officer Stotts and Officer Eads. Appreciate you guys too. Thank you a lot.
Next on the agenda is a proclamation. This is honoring the members of the Madison County Board of Education during School Board Recognition Month, January 2019. Whereas our community values a quality education as a vital step along the pathway to success for our children. And whereas Beth Brock, Samantha Burford, Lori Cobb, Becky Cole, and Brandon Rutherford contribute greatly to this community through their service on the Madison County Board of Education. And whereas these decision makers are responsible for maintaining strong, effective budgetary oversight, high standards for employment, and a safe, well-managed set of school facilities. And whereas these board members are serving our community with integrity, honor, and commitment to our children's future. And whereas January 2019 marks Kentucky's observation of their contributions through School Board Recognition Month. Therefore, I, Reagan Taylor, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2019 throughout this community as School Board Recognition Month, and urge all citizens to honor Beth Brock, Samantha Burford, Lori Cobb, Becky Cole, and Brandon Rutherford for their service. So I would ask for a round of applause for those that couldn't be here today. Maybe they could be watching and see the round of applause. And then we also have our superintendent here today, Mr. David Gillum, to get the proclamation. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Guys, at this time, I'm going to ask that we move the executive session from, I think, on 13 on y'all's agenda, and we're going to go ahead and do it now. So at this time, we have an executive session. We have a personnel issue, and we need to go into an executive session. At this time, I need a motion and a second to do so.
So moved.
Second.
No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Balkin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Berger?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. He gets appointed. He gets appointed. He gets appointed. If it doesn't matter, he can go ahead.
Met with all the judges, and they're at least open for discussion, but
No, I don't think we would have to.
in today's world, there's just no reason to transport it. And the dangers, good grief. Yeah.
Well, they've got it. I mean,
But look at the difference in that one person. You leave jail with him and go to court.
Kenny. Larry made the motion to come out of executive session, and Tom seconded. So if you will, call the roll, please.
Master Balkin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Berger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. No action at this time is taken out of executive session on the personnel matter. Next is appointment of the Madison County Road Supervisor. It would be my recommendation to the court that we reappoint Willie Willis as our Madison County Road Supervisor. This will be effective for 2 years until January the 1st, 2021.
I'll make that motion.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Berger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Balkin?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Willie, I know you're sweating that. I know you're really nervous back there. Yeah. Next is the reappointment, of the Madison County EMA Director. It'd be my recommendation that we reappoint Dustin Heiser as our Local Emergency Management Director, and that will be good. This doesn't tell me. It's just effective January 1, 2019. Does anybody know if it's by KRS, it's a 2-year term or 4-year term? You know? Yeah, that's a bad question for you on your first day in court. Yeah.
I can look it up and get back to you.
I mean, what have you been doing?
She's 0 for 1.
But anyway, whatever it is, it'll be for that. It'll be for that term. All right. So if y'all approve that recommendation, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Call the roll, please.
Good. Master Barger? Yes. Master Tudor?
Yes.
Mr. Buckin?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes, thanks, Dustin, appreciate it. Just had a courtesy for the zone change. I'm gonna skip over you just real quick, because I know they're probably got other things to do. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get them, if that's okay. So we're gonna skip down. The first reading of ordinance 1901. This is a land use change for 111, 117, 121, and 125 Duncannon Lane from UC1 Urban Corridor Single Family to UC4 Urban Corridor General Commercial. Guys, just, well, go ahead, Bert.
Well, I mean, I didn't have anything other than, if y'all are familiar with this property, it's a property near the intersection of Duncannon and 25, behind the Fiscal station there. There's 4 lots that go kind of up Duncannon. Used to be some old houses on it. They've all since been removed. I don't think the owner has any immediate plans other than cleaning those off. The houses are gone, but he's going to clean them off, gravel them in, maybe store some of his product there until some point in the future he decides to do something with it. But they actually front on the little service road that runs down to the Fiscal station. There's 4 lots right there.
Behind them is the
industrial behind them, commercial on one side of them, 2 sides of them, and then of course Duncannon and the service road on the other.
Is the house that sits right there in between the gas station where these properties are, is it already zoned commercial?
The house between this and the Citgo, I don't think there is a house between.
There's a house between the Citgo and
the industry drive.
And the industry drive.
No, it's not zoned. It's still zoned.
It's still residential. Okay. Yep. Because it's at one time it was probably.
You don't own that house. That's a different owner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. At one time that was probably appropriate, but now it's actually not appropriate with what all it's all developed around it.
There's actually some houses on the other side of the industry that is still is a residence, but it's actually already zoned.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Yep. That's
Has
good.
there been any opposition, Bert?
No, we didn't have anybody at the meeting that had any opposition
Yeah,
at
it's
all.
not- it's-
Unanimous vote by the planning commission to recommend approval.
Yeah. I probably actually should read that. The finding of fact. I'm supposed to. Finding of fact were made by the commission that the property is surrounded by commercial and industrial zoning and commercial and industrial uses. The commission further found that the proposal UC4 general commercial was in general conformity with the surrounding property and general character of the area and in conformity with the comprehensive plan. So that's the finding of fact. So, all right, guys, if y'all approve the first reading of ordinance 1901, land use change for 111, 117, 121, 125 Duncannon Lane from UC1 Urban Corridor Single Family to UC4 Urban Corridor General Commercial. I need a motion and a second, please.
Judge, I move we adopt this ordinance of 1901, the land use change from Duncannon Lane.
Thanks, John. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Buckin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all being here. Sorry we held you up a little bit.
She's on the clock anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
See you later.
Yeah, I need to apologize to Robbie, really. It's funny. Okay, next, I'm going to turn it over to Madison County Attorney Jenny Hayman to give us a presentation.
Well,
This is your big.
this is what I've been doing, Clerk Barger, preparing to give you a nice presentation. So I do want to thank you all. It is my first time here, so I'm honored to be here with everybody and appreciate you guys giving me some time, Judge. The first thing, I know they've kind of got me broken down on 2 things on the agenda. The first thing is the presentation on the rocket docket, and I believe that Judge and the magistrates have received that presentation already. I didn't print any more copies out. And it's not probably here. As Magistrate Bakken keeps turning it, I may not have put it in the system, so it was face up the best way to see it. But to start off with,
If you will, just give a long welcome, all right, or intro.
oh, just give a long intro. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, sir, I can do that.
Just give a long
So, I don't know what he wants me to say in the intro, but okay, well, I figured that part, but I'll buy some time. So you guys know, I understand this is our first time kind of working together and getting to know, how everybody operates. I'm typically, I guess, more of a conservative fashion in the sense of overly prepared and trying to make sure I give you kind of a conservative ballpark. And I like to have everything planned out before I implement something new, and that's what we did here with the Rocket Docket. This is not a new program, it's just something we'd like to implement here in Madison County. The state system, we use it under the Prosecutors Advisory Council. There are 37 programs already through the state. Now that counts essentially 37 circuits. Not every county in the circuit uses it, just because some of the counties are too small to really have much of an impact. And of course it comes from funding issues on where it's most apt to have a better result and get more bang for the buck, so to speak. So, you know, this is, I know, outside of most people's norms because this involves my prosecution side. So I tried to break it down as much as possible so we can understand and let everybody else understand what's going on. I live in the courtroom. I get it. I love it. But I sometimes forget not everybody else gets it. So we've included some stuff, so please feel free to stop me and ask me some questions or anything like that. I think I can move a little bit further in as intro. And
kind of explain to us, Jenny, what the Rocket Docket does.
So the Rocket Docket affects felony cases. They, as you all may know, they start in district court. The way we have the procedure starts, they get, you know, someone commits the felony, they either catch them on the scene, charge them, or they come get a criminal complaint and charge them with the felony. Law enforcement's out there, sheriff's department, they'll just arrest them right there on the spot. Felonies come through district court first. They'll be arraigned and set for a preliminary hearing. The preliminary hearing is just a probable cause finding to make sure we can either send it up to circuit court or whether or not we don't have probable cause to send it up to circuit court. But the Rocket Docket only affects those cases. It doesn't have anything to do with misdemeanor cases. It only affects the people that are going to end up going to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, essentially. So, and of course that's that's going to be most of your drug charges, your possessions, your trafficking, and of course any violent offenses, stuff like that. Most Rocket Docket cases do not involve violent offenses. It is set up primarily for drug offenses. So as you can see now that everybody's got a printout, and I apologize for that, just kind of the positives. The whole point of this is really to save some money on the end by getting the defendants either into drug treatment faster or moving them on to state time faster. So the primary purpose behind it, obviously, instead of just giving them treatment, is to reduce the cost to the county. So it saves on what the counties are paying to incarcerate an inmate while they're still in the county system versus when they're into the state system. It also helps law enforcement. If we are expediting them through the system, that's less days law enforcement's coming to court. So I'm sure, you know, Sheriff and them can talk about the comp time and overtime and stuff we're dealing with when they're standing in court for several hours a day, waiting for our numerous dockets to be processed through. It saves in district court time. Court runs faster. If we expedite through Rocket Docket, we're not sitting in court on Wednesdays as long. And of course, circuit court, you know, talking with Judge Logan, their criminal dockets are huge right now. If we have a separate day we expedite through Rocket Docket, those dockets typically take a couple hours depending on how many people we do through, because they're basically pleading and sentencing in circuit court on the same day, and then they're in and out. So it's down pretty much to a science through the state system, how they've kind of worked it. The only thing that kind of varies by county is your calendar and how it works for our calendar. So those are some of the positives. I talked a little bit about the court process with you all, but the screen that shows you the court process, the state went in and took a look at it. On average, it takes 6 months to get someone from arrest through circuit court. And that's an average. Obviously, if it goes to trial, it takes much longer. If we get Rocket Docket, it's a much shorter period of time. So Rocket Docket actually on average throughout the state with the program now takes 22 days to get somebody from arrest through circuit court sentencing. So there's, being on the conservative interpretation, we round that up to a month. Say it takes 1 month on a Rocket Docket case, 6 months on a straight criminal case. So you see a 5-month difference, obviously, then, in what we're paying on the county dime to house someone until they're sentenced in circuit court.
So Jenny, let me interrupt just a little bit. So what you're saying is there a county inmate for 22 days, rounding up, yes, saying 30?
Yes.
Instead of being a county inmate
for 6
for
months.
6 months?
Yes.
So they, in 22 days, they go from being arrested to being a state inmate?
Yes.
Which is a difference in us in that.
Oh, that's, yes, financially a big difference to you all.
So for us, it's a net gain of $6 is what that is. I mean, it costs us $25 a day, but the state inmates get, they're 31 something.
Right.
So it's a net for us of.
And when we get to the math part, I kind of offset the math so that we can make sure that we assume we replace them with the state inmate. Your next slide is basically a generic calendar month so that I can give you guys a better understanding of what it's like for court for us. So talking with the Commonwealth attorneys and actually talking with the circuit judges who are excited and really on board with this program, they volunteered that potentially we're looking at like every other Tuesday for rocket docket and circuit court. So they're going to make themselves available for an extra docket every other Tuesday. So for instance, and again, I tried to maximize the number of days the defendant would be sitting in county jail to show you, a better picture of impact for you all. Assuming the defendant got arrested on the calendars that first Friday, he potentially could not be arraigned until the next Monday due to the weekend. And from arraignment, you have 10 days while a defendant's incarcerated to hold a preliminary hearing. So that puts him on not the immediate Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. And a lot of that's due to I have to get subpoenas out, we have to process dockets. So it does take some time. So his 10 days would follow on the next Wednesday. If he pleads on that, if he accepts the rocket docket offer that the Commonwealth Attorney's Office makes in conjunction with the County Attorney's Office, and this is part of it, we have to work together. So there's actually a contract we enter into with the state saying we can interchange and work together. They accept the offer on that Wednesday, assuming the Tuesdays fall the furthest apart that I could show in this example, he would be in circuit court in less than 2 weeks, taking a plea and sentencing and being deemed state time on that day. So you can see, depending on how the rocket docket calendar falls, potentially it's somewhere between 16 and 29 days, I think, is how it works out that he could be on state time, which is why Prosecutors Advisory Council says a month. We'll round up to a month. It could be as little as essentially two weeks. So the numbers game for it, and this is where I did it 2 ways. You guys only have it 1 way, but I think Judge actually crossed it off. I did the numbers based on 31 days and $25 a day, assuming maybe some of these people don't go to state prison. Some of them actually go on probation or diversion if they're eligible for their possession charges. So it's not like I'm necessarily putting another body in the jail. So if it costs $31 for a county inmate or $25, in 2018 there was 1,348 felony cases. I went back and found the exact number of felony cases we had last year. To be conservative, Dave and I talked about this, we lowballed 250 cases, looking at just possession, maybe some trafficking cases. Only 250 cases. Now, we believe over time there would be a lot more because obviously out of 1,348 cases, most of them had drug connections to them. The difference between the rocket docket essentially is 150 days, 5 months. So on your next slide, savings at the jail. Your average timeline for the 6-month defendant. If it's $31 a day, it totals out to be $5,580. Redoing the math, if it's $25 a day, it's $4,500. That's how much it costs for one inmate in the jail for 6 months. If we do it, we multiply it by what we perceive for the 250 inmates, you see the $31 calculation is almost $1.4 million. $1,395,000 is the cost for all 250 inmates at $31 a day. At $25 a day, the cost is still $1,125,000 is what it would cost for 6 inmates, or 250 inmates at $25 a day for 6 months. On the rocket docket timeline, and I'll expedite through these numbers a little bit faster, you see the 930. It's 750 is the net at the if you net the 6 at $25 a day. Multiply it by the 250 inmates, it's now down to $187,500. So at the analysis of $31 a day, it's a savings to the county in just 6 months of $1,162,500. On the conservative interpretation of $25 a month, assuming I fill each bed then with a state inmate, it's $937,500, so shy of $1 million in 6 months on the jail budget.
Jenny, on the 250 county inmates that you all used, how many of them would have been in jail for a extended period of time? because you said some of those might get out on probation or some other.
So as they're sentenced in circuit court. So I'm saying they may not end up being a state inmate. They would still be a county inmate up until the point they get sentenced in circuit court. So depending on.
Would they ever bond it out? I guess that's what I'm getting at
Well,
is.
that depends more on their records.
The record, okay.
That's more of a variance that I can't give, which is why I lowballed to the 250.
Okay.
That's probably a very safe number to say they're not giving out. It's, I didn't want to give you 1,000. I feel like that would be a high
I understand that.
And those people, there would probably be a percentage that we're bonding out. 250 makes it a very
So
low
you're
percentage.
thinking that most of these 250 are heads in beds?
Yes.
That there's not gonna be some of those that, you're being very conservative, that there's at least 250 heads in beds?
Yes.
All right.
More than likely, it's going to be more than that.
Yes, more than likely, based on experience, it's going to be exceedingly higher than that, yes.
Jenny, are the court systems and the judges got the availability to work these cases this much quicker?
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean, we're looking at, and I have the printout with me, it's not for you, this was what Pat gave us for when we did our evaluation for Rocket Docket. Like I said, there's 37 circuits. Most of the judges, if not all of them, find this to be an excellent resource for them to use. They make sure they're available. For instance, speaking with our circuit judges, they're gonna do whatever it takes to get the Rocket Docket program. They're on board. It impacts them the greatest. The district court judges participate, but their stage in the Rocket Docket program is very minimal. They show up for preliminary hearing, they waive to the Rocket Docket. The judge doesn't have to hear a case, he doesn't have to make a determination. We send it on up to circuit court. So the circuit court judges really carry a lot of the weight, but throughout the program, you can't argue with the numbers. It does save on time. Even the ones that are hesitant, and I expect everybody to be hesitant in the beginning with any new program. You try, you're a little more conservative, you pick very appropriate cases and present to them. But most of them rely upon their prosecutors and defense attorneys, whatever that agreement is, they take that agreement and it moves them right through the system. So.
It's certainly an impressive number, there's no doubt about that, as far as the county savings goes.
Well, and speaking with our Commonwealth attorney, that's the one thing. We're the 9th largest county in the state. There's no reason it doesn't make a great impact. We're looking at counties the program reset and started with the state in 2015 is when Pat came through and started divvying out some money to help with these resources. And now we're not Jefferson County, but this shows you the numbers, the difference in the numbers. Jefferson County obviously is the largest county dealing with the program. From August of 2015 to March of 2018, saved almost $10 million. It was 9.935. So we did implement this program. This shows you the range in which you can do. We implemented this program when I was prosecuting in Estill County, and obviously Mr. Davis did it with connections to Commonwealth attorneys and our circuit judge, and he was a relatively new circuit judge at the time. We are obviously in Estill County. They are obviously a much smaller county, and they're the largest county in their circuit. At the time we had received it in July of 2017. We started the program, I remember, in August because that's when we needed some time. From August 2017 till March 2018, so just in less than a year, a few months, Estill County saved $215,000 just on their jail costs. I mean, and so that shows you kind of the dynamic between Jefferson and a much smaller rural county. We obviously should lean more towards the Jefferson side, not nearly that much, but being the 9th largest in comparison to a small county.
Does the offender have the option of rejecting this?
Oh, yes, we don't take the rights away. They can say no. They don't have to like the offer. They can say no.
What's the percentage that are willing to go ahead and?
You'd be surprised. A lot of defendants know what's coming down the line. A lot of them just say, I'd just rather move on to state time.
Well, a lot of these is not their first rodeo either. I mean, this is why our recidivism rate's so high.
Yes. So you actually see a lot. I spoke with the public defender's office about it here in Madison County. The private attorneys private defense attorneys are a little more used to it because they travel in their practices, so they get it in other counties already. But the public defender's office understands that they have the opportunity to speak with their clients before court with these offers. They'll do so. But they're the ones that indicate, a lot of them do want to just expedite through. So.
Well, the thing it helps us with, which has been our hurdle the whole time, is that, they'll get credit for time served. And so we're paying for 6 months worth of time, and they get a year. Well, then the state's only paying for 6 months. Well, we're paying half. This way it expedites that. and gets us to where potentially that we're only paying for 30 days, you know, in a
Right.
sense,
Mhm.
you know. And worst, I mean, the way I look at it is worst case scenario, let's say it's half and half. You know, let's say half of them do 6 months and the other half does 30. Well, I mean, it's still saving us two to 3 months, you know,
Yes.
of time frame. So, all right. So I'm sure there's an ask somewhere
There's
that
always an
comes
ask,
after
right?
this. Yeah.
So how the system was set up and what the state proposed is obviously we run on a state budget through PAC. It's a very different setup than a lot of the other state agencies. But the Attorney General's office actually only gives us an allotted amount each year to divvy up, and that's why you have to apply for the programs and stuff like that. They ask that we ask our fiscal court to match or contribute something to the programs, because obviously the impact is in your all's wallet. I can't write you a check as much as I'd like to write you a check. In this project, we basically lower that number on your side to kind of keep the money in your pocket. So we do ask for a little bit. Our ask is kind of a variance. We have to apply to state this week. Now, we actually already are permitted under the state. It's a matter of how much we get. So Madison County's also already been given the program. So we're going to ask for $50,000 from the state, and we ask that the fiscal court matches it. If the state only gives us $40,000, we're only going to ask fiscal court to cut right over the $40,000. That it be whatever the match is, and that goes strictly to personnel. It's to pay because it is more work. We have to report to the state system. I don't get these nice little spreadsheets because somebody didn't do the work. I mean, we have to do the work. We have to be very detail oriented in what we report. It's more paperwork up front on us, and we have extra days in court. I mean, if we take the rocket docket days, it may limit my day a little bit, you know, on a Wednesday, but I'm going to have to go to court on another day.
What dictates the 50 or 40? I mean, how do you know what the state gets? I mean, is there a
They'll tell us.
negotiation with you? I mean, do you
No,
negotiate that?
we apply, they just tell us.
Oh, they
We don't
just
get to
tell you, okay.
negotiate.
All right,
And they try to divvy it out based on the numbers and stuff like that, so. Yeah, there's definitely no I wish they'd let me negotiate.
Well,
So,
I'm sure they know how many we have.
oh yes, they have all the statistics. They'll look at it, and they're gonna look at it as how we work the project too. If we don't perform, they're going, the next time we have to apply, they can hold that against us. So they're gonna look to see where the numbers are, because they want, just as you all do, they wanna make their pockets a little bit more settled. No, everybody's out of money. I understand that. Everybody's short on money. So it's always a factor of where their money's best suited.
Well, if they're in the jail business, they're on money.
How will we, Jenny, how will we keep up with, how will we keep up with reporting back to fiscal court, knowing that there's return on investment from our $50,000 that we're investing in? So what would be part of you reporting back to us to assure us that we are saving those heads in beds, I guess?
So what we do for the state is they actually have a program where we have to go in and enter every single case. We tell you what day they were arrested. We tell if they accepted the rocket docket offer, what their charges were, what we did, where they were sentenced, and have it all broken down. Now, to get the state to turn over, they're only going to do it periodically. Now, they typically do it a couple times a year. But obviously, I can't tell PAC what to do. But because we have access to the program, I am fully capable of going into the system and exporting those numbers so that I can report back to you. Just in Madison County, this is what we've done. I won't necessarily always have this spreadsheet where I can say this is what Jefferson did, and that only will come to me periodically. But I can pull our numbers and do the math so that I can say, you know, we've run 250 cases through. The average days in jail on those 250 cases turned out to be 27 days or whatever it is, so that you will have a hard number. Just like you do with the presentation on the numbers I pulled out, I will be able to do the exact numbers for what we use in the program.
Right, okay.
But at simple, at 180 days, at $25, you're talking about I figured at a $5 net savings instead of $6. The difference in that, on the 250 employees, you're talking about $27,000 a month.
Yeah. Hey, they'll be asking for more money, hush.
So I can make it work in 2 months.
Don't show all our cards, Tom.
So, any other questions? Or?
Well, guys, I've said many times, you know, we've talked about this drug epidemic. We've researched this drug epidemic for 4 years now. And the conclusion that I've come up with, that it's not one shoe fits all. There's not one fix that fixes it all. We've got to hit this from all different directions. You know, a home incarceration program, this rocket docket. I mean, to me, we got to offer it up to where we can try to just make a dent in this in some form or fashion, because financially it's killing the county. I mean, absolutely killing the county. So you all know that. So
Judy, you're in favor of the home incarceration, aren't you?
I am. I'm in favor of the home incarceration. I think I spoke with Jailer Tussey, and we're going to work on operating it in the best way possible. Again, kind of like this program, I like to have everything set up so I know it works appropriately, and we work out all the glitches beforehand. Because we have it, we have to kind of transition and do some things, but I'm fully on board with working through that to make sure we do everything.
I think it's a great program, and, you know, even when you talk to the public, it tickles them to death to see prisoners at work.
Oh, yeah.
And I know a lot of those prisoners rather be at work.
Right. Well, and I'm sure Jailer Tussey probably wants some of them working as well.
I'm sure that make sure you follow that up.
So, guys, obviously we have a request from our county attorney for $50,000 to go towards a rocket docket. Will we have some type of agreement?
So you'll actually end up, fiscal court will actually end up having the agreement through the state. So essentially what would happen is you don't pay us. It's not a direct personnel cost to the county attorney's office. It'll actually get sent up to PAC, and PAC will administer the funds.
And then so I'll have that agreement with PAC.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to make any kind of motions today to approve, or are we going to wait for that agreement? But to
well,
bring
they won't
back
do
to
the
court?
agreement with you unless you approve this. So I have to be able to go back and tell them that our fiscal court is going to contribute.
Okay, so we can make a motion today then if we agree to contribute, and then once we have the agreement, then we can bring the agreement back for me to
We've
sign.
always said the dollar amount after she finds
Well,
out.
and this is what I can tell you. We're not asking for more than 50 from the state, so they're definitely not giving us more than 50. So that's why I said for you to match 50.
What keeps them from saying they're gonna get 75?
Yeah, they won't. Just like if I ask for 50, you guys probably aren't going to tell me you're going to give me 75. I mean, they're not going to exceed our ask. So we're going to ask for 50, thinking we can get 50 from them. Like I said, it may be less, so at the end of the day, it may be a surprise to you all.
And then what's do we have, like, let's just say, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but let's just say that the program's not working. It's not really giving us the return on investment that we're looking for. I'm assuming there's a 30-day out,
So it's essentially, it goes through essentially a year. This first one may actually be a little bit shorter because of the way they did it with the new elections. They knew there was going to be turnover in the prosecutors. So typically, though, the contract is for every fiscal year.
Okay.
So basically that determination, if you don't like the numbers at the end of that fiscal year.
So they wouldn't ask us for the money until our July 1 then of our new fiscal year?
I don't want to say that this time because
You
where
don't
they've
know.
redone
Okay.
it. So
All
that,
right.
you know, they will contact you. It actually won't run much through the counties. They pretty much will handle it. I mean, like I said, they're doing it in 37 other circuits,
Yeah,
so they've got
right.
this part down.
Yeah, okay.
When do you anticipate it will begin?
So now, immediately, they want our applications by the end of the end of this week so that we can start the program immediately. I'm actually already going to meet with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office this afternoon to start working on processing.
Okay. All right, so then it sounds like that we would need a motion, guys, whoever, if y'all are for this, we need a motion to add that amount of money to the budget. And then also probably giving me the authority to sign an agreement with them, because we won't have court again till the 24th, 22nd, somewhere in there. So if you all feel comfortable in that, then that's what kind of motion it looks like that we would need, so.
All right, so I would make a motion to allow Judge Taylor to enter an agreement with the PAC and for the purpose of establishing a rocket docket and allocating $50,000 to a budget to
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed $50,000 to support that.
A second.
So we have a motion and a second. No more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bucket?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Mr. Tudor?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Next is, Jenny, you gonna talk to us about county attorney position.
So, yeah, you guys may not let me come back since my first day is an ask, huh? So the next two are actually direct personnel issues that I'm presenting to you all. So to start off with the first one, we'll start with the good one where you get money back. How's that? So the first position we're looking for is resetting kind of the way I'm structuring the county attorney's office so that I have basically a diversion coordinator person. As some of you may know, the county attorney's office doesn't have a budget beyond personnel. I think the state, if they have it, allocates each county $3,000 to pay for their office supplies. I would like anybody to show me how I'm supposed to pay for running an office our size on $3,000. That wouldn't cover our paper costs for a year, but that's what we get. So the county attorney's office has to create income in order for us to actually pay not only for our budget expenses, but our additional personnel. All of our personnel paid for the state is considered part-time, and we only get a lump sum. So it doesn't, after I've come, I've been here 2 days, I tried to do some work before I got in office, and looking at it that we have to supplement our personnel budget. We don't actually make that from the state. And so we do that through different programs. Obviously, any delinquent property taxes is part of the way that comes in. That is diminishing over time, as I'm sure Clerk Barger can tell you. The way that statute was set up was actually so that people wouldn't have as many delinquent taxes. It really picked up in 2012, but the idea is it probably won't exist in about another 10 years, that the delinquent property taxes will all be resolved prior to being delinquent. So that will impact our budget greatly as far as what we can pay for. So other ways the state has allowed us to do this is creating diversion programs, traffic safety programs, insurance diversion programs, marijuana diversion programs, domestic violence. There's all shoplifting. I mean, there's a whole slew of them that they let us come in and work for, and there's a nominal fee that we can create out of this. In the state budget, that's deemed excess fees. That's what they call it by statute for us. Excess fees help supplement. It can be used for anything to allow us to run our office except to pay me. Can't pay me, which is perfectly okay, but we have to pay for our budgets. So what I am proposing is to really kind of revamp our diversion program, to have someone who works that, primarily that, and I'm working with our district judges to include a restitution program so that comes over to the county attorney's office, which is permissible by statute. In doing so, we're looking at other diversion programs with some substance abuse issues, mental health issues, things like that, to help fill that person's position. So what I'm asking a fiscal court is to allow me a personnel for a diversion coordinator whose sole purpose is really to emphasize all of our diversion programs, monitor, keep track, make sure the money's coming in on restitution, that kind of thing. And I will reimburse the salary request at the end of the year of whatever that fiscal court personnel is given. So for instance, I think we requested, I'm ballpark, I think it was $35,000. I left my notes somewhere. We asked for a $35,000 salary for that position. So at the end of the year, I will match at least the $35,000 and put that back. Now my goal is that we have exponentially surpassed that, and I can write you additional checks each year because that's what's actually supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be able to give you whatever the excess fees are beyond what it costs me to supply my office, pay for everything. I mean, obviously I can't empty the bank accounts at the end of the year because I got to make payroll on the first. But the idea is you do that now. Historically, I think that's kind of diminished. But I think part of it is because it wasn't worked as much. So whatever excess fees we had, they used to use the office. And so there wasn't as much. But I can tell you, I already pretty much started it. I took a young lady to court with me yesterday, first day, and we signed up a whole slew of people on the diversion programs. I mean, she was like, I don't know that I've worked this hard yet in a court setting because that is something that I think is very important. I want to be able to give back to you all as much as possible, but I kind of need a little leniency because I'm only allotted so much personnel through the state. I don't get to go to them and necessarily always say, hey, I need another person. So that's what I'm asking as far as a diversion coordinator, to have someone that you all would fund through the salary. But that I would at least be able to reimburse the salary. Ideally, I would like to double that if I can.
Can you guarantee to reimburse or?
Yeah, I can guarantee the $35,000.
Oh, you can guarantee the $35,000.
Is that a full-time position?
It will be a full-time position. Yes, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, plus asking for the benefits.
Was this similar to what Clark County does?
So Clark County does have, they call it CARP, I think the County Attorney Restitution Program.
Yeah.
They do have some diversion programs. Obviously, they're in a different geographical setting for us, so we have a higher impact on the diversion, so they don't
I know
have.
their county attorney,
supplies a significant chunk of money to their fiscal court.
absolutely,
Yes.
I've never seen it.
Yes, he does. I've spoke with Mr. Thomas actually, because I wanted to make sure I worked my way through a program in my head and on paper before I ever presented it to you all. So I actually met with him, and went over a lot of that. And so, you know, it's been
like
lined
you've done
out.
your homework.
I try, I at least try to look like I know what I'm doing.
What offenses would apply to?
So it varies. Like I said, we'll, of course, traffic offenses, which is typically any moving violation, not a DUI or anything like that, like improper signals, speeding, stuff like that. We do have to create a protocol. So one of the things that in my week-long training, I know you all had to do your trainings for the elected officials and stuff. They drove home that I have to have a written procedure on who can apply for these diversion programs.
Guidelines.
And so that apparently is not in place now. So that's something I do have to. I propose to fiscal court is actually to give me an assistant who is not dedicated to criminal prosecution, but dedicated to the civil side. To give someone for a contact person to do the work, to do our ordinance drafting, to work on some of those nuisance complaints, stuff that I can't get my hands on immediately. It gives me some assistance. I will say, you know, I think very highly of Brooke. She was kind of my first go-to for an assistant position. She is an excellent attorney now. She's been practicing several years, pretty much as long as I have. Yeah, I was like, I think we practiced about the same amount of time. And so I've known her through a lot of civil litigation, and she is obviously, I think, top-notch. But she would be kind of the first line for some of the issues we have to address immediately, because I can tell you that your judge is on top of it. I've got an email box full of stuff already that, you know, we were looking at. I think even some of the magistrates have already told me, you know, this is an issue, you know, this is an issue, you know, this is an issue. And as much as I love fixing things right from the beginning and making them work, that obviously isn't something that's going to happen. And so it would be exceedingly helpful to me to have someone that we all can trust, that I know she's working to get the answers that we need alongside with me. Ultimately, it will be me here. It's not, I'm not doing my job. It's just I need some assistance to kind of do some of the stuff that you guys don't want to pay me to do. And so I propose Brooke Bowman, and I think I may have put Mitchell on the back, but I think she only goes by Bowman for legal purposes. For what I'm asking for is a $40,000 salary plus benefits and Oh, and I totally messed up those numbers. She is actually the 59,000. I'm sorry. Your diversion coordinator person was only 52,005.
Yeah, I thought 59 sounded high
Yeah, I'm
with
sorry.
benefits.
Yeah, that was actually the wrong. I put those in reverse. Her position was the 59,037.
So is it okay in the minutes that we correct that?
Okay.
Tom's motion of not to exceed 53,000 instead of?
Sorry about that. That's my fault. But yes, so my request is for the 40,000 salary, which actually turns out to be the 59,037 and change for an assistant county attorney, specifically hired for the purposes of assistance with fiscal court matters. This is the one that I saved it for last. I don't have any promises in return other than work product. There's no numbers on a sheet for you.
Now, what about we have a community service program that's happening right now with the county attorney's office. That'll go away, is that correct?
Yes, that'll go away.
Yeah.
That'll actually fall just more under the job of the diversion person to work through that, not a separate program.
So I just bring that up because right now we're spending
25,000.
and so in some of these numbers we're talking about today, we save that now. So,
Well, this is something that we've needed for a long time. And, I know you can't be 3 places at one time, and I know what the dockets are. I think everybody does. You come up here on a Friday, and the room's full, and then there's no room for the court and the judge to even ask questions, unless somebody's in charge. And I know you would be the one in charge,
Yes.
but you can't be everywhere at the same time.
Right.
So this is a program I think would really benefit the court. It's just like, Judge, I've asked about right-of-ways and
Old
stuff.
Possum Kingdom.
Yeah, and I can't get nowhere.
Yeah.
But maybe with this, we
Yeah.
got somebody riding herd, we'll be all right.
I think, Jenny, we want somebody that puts some teeth into some of our ordinances. When we come with all the paperwork, all the complaints, all the signatures, we want something done pretty quickly. We don't want to come back a year later and say, well, we're working on it.
Right.
We want some
Yeah.
results.
Right.
If we have an ordinance, we have a complaint issue, we have trash out in the road and it just continued to happen, and we've got all the paperwork signed for it. We want some legal direction taken to make a difference.
And that's really what, I'll always answer my phone the best I can. I think Judge tried to call me yesterday and I was in court. So sometimes, I'll always call back. But it does give you that second
3
person.
hours later.
Oh, it was my first day on the job.
We've got to have lunch.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
No
Yeah.
check, they'll usually call you back.
So, all right.
I was gonna say, I guess that means we can put Brooke on speed dial now.
Yeah, and Brooke's right here. I
Yes.
don't know, yeah, everybody say hi to Brooke. All right, so, if y'all agree in this hire to Brooke Bowman as Assistant County Attorney that is helping on the civil side, helping directly with the fiscal court and research, not to exceed $60,000, and also to sign an agreement.
Yes.
With that. I need a motion and all right, hold it.
Name, salary, start date.
Okay, so Brooke Bowman, I got that part.
Yes, Brooke Bowman.
All right, so Brooke Bowman.
40,000.
So 40,000 plus benefits.
Her start date, I would request to be today.
Start date today.
A list of things,
Will that be a whole day or how?
Start date today. Guys, it'd have been a lot easier if y'all just got me a job form. We got those for a reason,
Good.
Anything else that I'm missing on that?
Is that it?
We'll catch it in the minutes. Guys, anything? Is that it? All right. I need a motion and a second.
Judge, I make a motion, we hire Brooke Bowman as Assistant County Attorney.
Second?
That's for 40,000 plus benefits.
Which is 59,000.
Yes.
Not to exceed 60,000, you said.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, no more discussion, call the roll.
Master Berger?
Yes.
Mr. Tudor?
Yes.
Mr. Buchan?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes, now you're in timeout, the rest of court.
Yes, sir.
All right, I don't want to hear another word. All right, next is, I think Chris Israel is going to present to us with the Microsoft Select Agreement. Chris, hi, buddy.
Jenny, thanks for making me look.
I'm really sorry.
This is easy compared into that. We are in the process of purchasing new Microsoft licenses. And in the past, we have purchased off what's called the open agreement. We can now purchase off the select agreement, which is cheaper and easier to manage. So this is not committing any funds. It's just for the judge to sign the select agreement so we can purchase off that agreement when we get ready. We are in the process of purchasing those licenses, so we need this agreement signed. Now, don't be surprised when I come back in 2 weeks and we do the same thing again. We will have to sign an enterprise license agreement, but we can't do that until a purchase order has actually been processed and ready to be paid. So this one is to allow us to get the quotes and to get the dollar amounts together, and then we'll be back again in 2 weeks with a enterprise agreement once the PO is ready to go. So all I'm doing is seeking approval for the judge to sign the Microsoft Select agreement.
All right, guys, y'all have any, do I have a motion second to allow me to sign?
So moved. Second.
Have a second? Do we have any discussion?
Yes. On the, I just had a question about the software assurance. That's a pretty vague, and I saw that you chose not to accept.
We do not participate in software assurance. It's complicated at best. When I ran the numbers, it was an additional $60,000 to get started, and then they break an additional $90,000 up over the 3 years. It's just too costly. We don't change that fast to justify those costs, so we do not participate in software assurance.
Generally speaking, those are just programs that are sell-ups of their products anyway, that you should offer up to the beginning.
So essentially, if you are a large corporation, you own lots of licenses, you can purchase the software assurance, and that way you're paying a set amount of money every year, and you continue, you're right, you continue to get the latest and greatest. And that's what the enterprise agreement is that the enterprise agreement sells what we call the Windows VDA license, which is what everybody uses at the computer, and their Office 365 licenses. Those are considered subscription fees, so we pay those every year. And we sign that enterprise agreement with them in order to manage those licenses and pay a set fee for 3 years in a row, and then they recalculate those fees. So we don't participate in software assurance because it is not cost effective.
I was glad to see that.
Thanks, Tom. We got a motion and a second. No more discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Tudor?
Yes.
Mr. Bakker?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Next is 2019 Madison County Sheriff's budget, general term order. Sheriff,
Yes, sir.
is it still morning? Yes, good morning.
Well, good morning to everyone.
Mary Margaret, good morning.
Well, I'm here to, this morning to ask for approval for our proposed 2019 budget. This budget comes after quite a bit of work. I've met with Judge Taylor numerous times, Mary Margaret and I. We've worked very diligently over the last few days to try, months and weeks to try to get a few of these things together. The first proposed budget that we put together that I individually met with different masters, Mr. Botkin and Mr. Tudor individually, and talked to Master Combs as well, many times with Judge. Our concerns were some of the shortfalls that we had last year, and that was some of the things that we didn't actually prepare for, having 15 and 16 audits, 2015, 2016 audits in 1 year. And it seemed like that we ended up being a training ground for Frankfurt when they sent these people down, and that got very expensive for us. So we didn't have but one audit actually budgeted for that. We had a spiking issue that occurred over 8 years ago that fell upon our shoulders from a different administration. The taxing that took place from Frankfurt on a hazardous duty and non-hazardous, there's just
on the pensions?
Yes.
The pension
yes,
contribution?
on the pension, I'm sorry, on the pension. There's some other issues that were concerns, and the first budget that we proposed, we actually added to a lot of those line items. And then after meeting and several other meetings that we've actually got this budget down to where we feel that we're comfortable with it, but we do want to say caution that, you know, if something changes. I know in Richmond yesterday, fuel costs I think were $2.05, $2.06, and in Berea I think it was $2.15, $2.16. You know, whoever knows about fuel. But we've knocked our fuel down, we've knocked several other line items down, and if something took place, you know, after what we've cut, we may have to come back and ask for help later on some of these line items. But the budget itself, like I say, I want to enlighten you all, just take just a minute to tell you that, you know, 2018 was another busy year. Every year we've had, the last 8 years that I've been there, it seems like every year it's more to it. I'm just going to hit a few of these numbers for you real quickly and then move on. But basically every line item has increased. Calls for service this year, we had 36,866. That's non-emergency and emergency calls through our sheriff's office, and last year, 2017, we had 31,737. You know, when you go down our activity for the year, when you look at some of the different things, special details, DUI arrest, we were up. Business check, domestic violence, all these, it still comes from the same thing that Jenny and I have talked about, and Mr. Tussey as well. It comes from the drug thing. Madison County Sheriff's Office has dedicated 5 people, that's all we do, 5 deputies to work drugs each and every day. That's what we know and think of the drug problem. You know, when it comes to preparing a budget and working to try to make our county safer, you know, I'm so glad that I've been able to work with this court through the past few years that it helps recognize. I know we all don't see eye to eye at each time, but when I look back at the activity that we've had for 2018 and right on down, we've had a deputy-involved shooting where we had a deputy shot and he returned and fatally took that person's life. Some of the things that we've had here in Madison County, shooting after shooting after shooting, you know, it's dangerous business. And, you know, I just want to remind this court that we're lucky to have the people that we have working here in Madison County, just like the 2 that were here today. I didn't have a thing to do with that. That was the community that selected those from that program. And, you know, hopefully those high school and college kids, they see those later on as mentors. Maybe someday they'll want to be in law enforcement. But this budget, like I say, I'm not going to get up here other than I want to brag on my department, but I'm very pleased and very proud of our achievements and our accomplishments, and you know, we're going to do our job. We're going to provide for it every day. Last year's budget was $3,627,312.90. This year's budget, after we've trimmed it down and cut, is $3,818,647. I still have issues and concerns, and one of them is we're still not getting our fleet where I'd like to see it. This budget, what we're asking for is 3 new cars on this budget, and they're the Dodge all-wheel drive. It's just a police car. It's not the SUVs that we've been trying to get, which you take Madison County being rural and urban and suburban, those type vehicles we can get around in a little better. But we've gone as light as we can go on this budget. Like I said, I've met with and talked with each one of you. This is our request. We hope that you can accept this, and if you have any questions in detail, I'll ask my Mary Margaret, my administrative director. I'll let her explain all the figures to you. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, Sheriff. I'm just going to make a couple of comments. We have gone over it several times, and Guys, one of the ways that I look at the budget, the sheriff's budget is what the fiscal court is returning to him to make his budget balance, and I compare that a lot with the previous year. And the way I look at this budget this year with what the budget was last year is he's actually requesting $95,000 less. In our budget, we have $1,504,000 that was in the budget for his last year's budget. This year, he's asking for $1,559,000, which is a difference of about my math's gone.
55,000.
Yeah, it's 55,000. But one of the things, just comparing apples to apples, is that if you notice in the budget or in my draft budget, no, it's in here. You know, 25,000 of this budget was for a spiking issue that happened in 08 and 09. All right, wasn't even his budget. And then there's also the pension increase because of the new ARC. On hazardous, non-hazardous equals out to approximately about $125,000 extra in our budget. So there's about $150,000 you can't compare from this year to last year, which is a net $95,000 less in budget. And so, you know, I think the sheriff he's very cautious of his spending. Their whole staff is. You know, I think last year, Glenna, if you can help me remember, I think they come in about $200,000 under their budget, what we had to give them a check for. It was close there. So, you know, when those things are happening, I mean, that to me shows a good steward of taxpayers' money whenever, you know, he could be spending that whole amount, but he's not. So he's running a good operation. I think that what we have to decide as a fiscal court is the new standard. And we've got to decide what that new standard is. And we've got to quit talking about, you know, new cars or having these same conversations over and over and over every year. One of the things that I say has happened to our sheriff's department's budget is the state police's shortfall in manpower. You know, I think they have budgeted, or they have typically 1,058 troopers. I think somewhere they've got 800 or so. We have 7 in Madison County that work Madison County. That's 1.2 troopers per shift. You know, sheriff's departments were never designed to be that law enforcement presence. You know, and our sheriff wanting to do a job and protect our community, sign an agreement that 11 o'clock state police goes in. Well, as big as our county is, there's no way that we can police our county with only 1.2 troopers per shift. You know, and so to me, being the administrator of county government, I feel like it's an unfunded mandate that's really passed down in a sense from the state. I'm not saying it's intentional, but it is an unfunded mandate. And so we've got to decide as a court, in my opinion, in the near future, what our standard is going to be with this county. And we need to go all out and go for that standard. Because people expect it. And we need to figure it out. And I think this is a new standard. I think that we either accept these budgets from the sheriff and accept, you know, the needs, or we all need to rally together and we need to go to Frankfurt and say, hey, you need to compensate us for us having to do a state job. You know, we've got to quit sitting here once a year and having this same talk. And so I challenge all of us sitting here, county attorney, jailer, sheriff, our employees, our citizens, our legislators, that, hey, the unfunded mandates have got to stop, right? We the ones that have to make them stop. Or we've got to start raising our revenues to where that we can compensate these budgets. So I've said my piece. I appreciate your budget, Sheriff. I appreciate you being conservative. And I appreciate the job that you are doing. 36,000 calls is a lot of calls, guys. Y'all can do the math. 365 days a year. So at this time, I need a motion and a second. And if y'all approve the budget, the motion second, then we'll have discussion. All right.
I make a motion to accept this budget.
Thank you. All right, do y'all have anything to say?
I'd just like to state, Judge, that part of his extra expenses, the pension funding that's been put down on him, and that is hazardous duty pension funding also, which is the rate of, what, about 50-something%?
I think it's actually a little over 50% for hazardous.
Yeah, over 50% for hazardous duty pay. So that's, I don't know how the pension issue is going to play out, but that's something you're budgeted for, and it may be more than what you put in your budget, Mike. So we'll have to go from there. But that's a figure that we can work with right now. But,
Well, it's not fair to the sheriff. I mean, you know, he didn't anticipate that, and I know we didn't anticipate it, but it's passed down, and once it's passed down, you've got to do something. Same way with regulations on the jail. Whatever they tell you got to do, you're going to have to do it. But, you know, paying for it, Judge, you're right. I don't know if we can take everybody from Madison County down there and get anything done.
It might not, but at least we got to voice it. I mean, we've got to decide what our new standard is. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
But I commend you for the job you're doing.
Thank you, Larry.
And, you know, just to go along with that, there's not a one of us that's sitting up here that's not campaigned at some point in time on public safety. And that we've not talked about the drug. I don't care what discussion comes up, where you're at or who you're with, you don't have to talk long till the drug thing comes up. I mean, sheriff's responding to that. I mean, that's a burden on you. It's a burden on our sheriff's department. You know, not just that in itself, you know, we think that in the future, and we've taken some steps in the last couple of years that we hope that will bring some revenue into the sheriff's department that will help to offset our budget. But yet at the same time, what the judge is saying, we're eating state mandates. I mean, we're picking up their load. It's not their fault, but we're picking up their load, and that's not right. I do want to commend you, though, not just for these two deputies that showed up here today, but, you know, we've had this discussion before when it come to discussion of you hiring people. You hire whoever you want to hire, but we've always said, and we've always told you in the past, you hire the absolute best person that you can get. And, you know, we've been very fortunate that we do have a lot of retired KSP that work at the sheriff's department now, and that's a win-win for the county because we don't pay benefits on that. And I don't know if everybody realizes that, but that's just another where you're getting the absolute best people and most experience and folks that you can, and also looking out for the taxpayers at the same time doing that. And we commend you for that.
Well, we get to hire not only from KSP, but RPD and some of the other agencies and what we're hiring is their experience and their expertise. You know, it's not like a young officer coming in. We're getting what they bring the best to the table. I'd like to make mention a couple other things. You know, I look forward to working with Jenny and our new jailer. You know, I think communication's a big thing. And, you know, there's some things that I want to do. There's some things that my mind is always thinking about. And I think Mr. Bodkin, Mr. Tudor, you know, I'm going to commit to this court that we're going to look at a lot of different avenues in making our community better and safer, knowing what our problems is by working with the county attorney and working with our new jailer to, you know, I think one thing is getting more aggressive on these drugs, getting our courts to look at when we get aggressive that they stand behind. And as long as we're doing it legal and right, I think aggressive policing needs to be done on some of these. But I think there's a point there where we have to do something with them once we catch them. And I know one thing is incarceration and learning from incarceration and rehab and education, you know. And I think if we work together and put the right people together and the right minds, that this problem that we have here in Madison County, which is a problem everywhere, can help itself by working together and having some of those people with that experience and expertise help out. The other thing that I want to mention is that, you know, we talk about employees. I know Scott, I know Willie, everybody here, Chief Gregory, I know everybody in this room has employees, and you trust in them and you believe in them. But, you know, it's kind of tough sometimes when you put them in harm's way. And most of the 2018, we've had 3 and 4 people off for most of this year with injuries. And, you know, these guys step up. They don't complain. They don't cry. They go ahead, work their shifts, double up on some of them to get the job done. And that's a big thing when you were talking about employees. And the other goal I have is to try to increase the pay in the Madison County Sheriff's Office. And that's going to be something we're going to have to work on. But, you know, I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. And like I say, you know, I'm very proud of our agency, and I appreciate your all's accepting this, and we're ready to get back to work. Thank you.
Raj?
Sheriff, I want to apologize for not getting in to see you when I needed to. Just things come up and I couldn't get in there, but after I talked to the judge and he explained to me that your budget was actually $100 and some thousand less than what it actually was last year, made me feel a little better. I'll be honest with you, you had 2 cars go down. We bought 2 cars for the engines that's blown. We're buying 3 more. I had in my head that I was going to buy over 2 right now. I need you to understand that we're setting a budget for you, and then 6 months from now, we've got to set a budget for us. And if we get a surprise in that budget, we've already promised you that money. So we're kind of in a catch there, the way I look at it. If I saw that our budget was good enough 6 months from now, I wouldn't care to go ahead and bought the other car. I think you've agreed to 3, so I'm happy with Yes. that. But I just want you to understand, I wasn't trying to. Oh, I know that. I know that. You do a fine job. Your department does a fine job. Thank you. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
And I want to add that a little bit. I'm glad you said that, Roger, because I wanted to make that part of this. And I'm really doesn't have anything to do with the sheriff's budget. It really is to the magistrates and the court. But you know, ever since that we've all been here together this last 4 years, we've sacrificed, and our staff and our employees and our departments have sacrificed, and a lot of years done without because of what I call this drug epidemic. Because we've had to fund the sheriff's office and we've had to fund the jail in their budget because of the impact that this drug epidemic is having on the county. And so when I talk about that new standard, I want y'all to realize that's part of that standard. Is that you know, our department heads have sacrificed in budgets. You know, we're driving vans in the road department that's got over 500,000 miles on it as our service van. You know, we're driving trucks in solid waste that have got over 300,000 miles on them. And so, and we're doing with that. We're saying maybe next year, and we just keep saying maybe next year. So that what we have to decide, all 5 of us have got to decide, what do we want that new standard to be? Are we going to go through 4 more years of scraping by and continuing to sacrifice and not provide what our community deserves? So. Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. No more discussion. Call the roll, please.
Master Buchan?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Clerk Barger, hurry up, please.
Oh, no. No, I'm going to have my moment to sign like everybody else. I wasn't planning on coming up here and standing. Thank you. I couldn't not come up here after Sheriff Cole did. Copy of this budget's been put in your all the Dropbox folders. Pleased to bring this budget to you, and I also want to, on the same line as what Mike said, I have the best group of co-workers that I think any clerk in the state of Kentucky could possibly ask for. And that's the reason we're able to bring this kind of budget to you. I've got folks that not only care about the customer, but they care about the county's money, and they care about doing things as efficiently as possible. That's our mission, to be the most cost-effective, customer-focused office in the state of Kentucky. And I think we're really getting there. Just a few highlights on the budget: license and transfers, usage tax, tangible property tax. Those have all gone up a little bit. They do every year.
on the receipt side on the second page, we started doing passports about 2.5 years ago. We budgeted this year, they're going up a little bit. Passport photos, $4,000, and then passport fees, $11,000, which is pretty much clear money. That's, we didn't add any labor, we had a little bit of equipment. There's nothing else in there but our labor, and we're making $15,000 a year.
Will the new driver, I didn't mean to put in.
Go right ahead.
Will the new driver's license, the way they're gonna handle it, and they talk about passports and stuff, will that affect you?
It's domestic only.
Okay.
For those. It might help a little bit, but right now it's not required. Nobody's requiring it, so I don't think it'll have a big impact.
Okay, that's just a question.
On the outgoing side, everything I just said went up a little bit. On the receipt side, went up a little bit on the expense side. One thing we always focus on is our labor cost. Even with the increase in the retirement, year to year, we're down $59,600 in labor from this time last year, which that last year was a decrease in labor also. And that's just due to the fact, again, the folks I get to work with, we are cross-training. We're doing more and more with less. We're doing more people can do more jobs. And we're trying to get into a situation where when we have folks retire, we don't need to replace them. We can shrink through attrition. I want to continue to do that. We've lowered our head count quite a bit since I've been in office, and we want to keep going there. With all that being said, I always say that good is the enemy of great. We're going to continue to work on these things. We've got legislation coming up that could change our fee structure in motor vehicles and in recordings, which in recordings we haven't had a change since I think the early 80s. Could drastically impact our budget in a positive way. In recordings, the recordings department does not break even. It costs money. We lose money when we record documents right now. And these changes could really help. And we're going to change a few things on elections. I'm hoping, and this is not a promise, but I'm hoping to be able to absentee vote in Berea and Richmond this next election.
In May, starting in primary.
Which would be a huge convenience to the citizens that are in the southern part of the county. We don't have to drive all the way to Richmond.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Guys, at this time,
it looks like we've had equipment issues. I mean, there's a frenzy, which is good. That means you can't see what I'm doing.
the right way, so it's all upside down.
It's foreign.
Yeah, it's in Japanese, I think.
Well, that's good. That's why I can tell you whatever I want to. We'll vote and approve it.
We got the check on it, we're good. We got the check.
We're not trying to say you're crooked, but this is crooked.
2019 Madison County Clerk's budget and general term order. I need a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Who was the second?
I did.
Roger.
Any discussion, guys?
Good job, Kenny.
Thank you. We're doing our best every day.
Kenny, I want to say, man, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and it will continue at least the next 4 years to work with you.
Thank you.
Man, I came into office green as a gourd, and you've had my back from the very beginning. You've looked out for me, and I appreciate it. And you look out for this county, and I think there's going to be some exciting things happening in the next several months, and the community's going to see really what kind of job that you've done and are doing every day. So kudos to you, man.
I say I've got the best job in Madison County and the best county in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I wish I'd run against you 4 years ago.
You should have. Anybody that didn't doesn't have much sense, because it's a pretty good job.
My little angry bird. Thank you, brother. Guys, no more discussion. Call the roll, please.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Botkin?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Next is to award CSEP training bids. Dustin? Hi, buddy.
Yes, you guys should have in your Dropbox a spreadsheet. A few weeks ago, we put out a proposal for some leadership training, and we received 4 bids. As you can see there and highlighted in the blue, Franklin Covey, we felt they had the best bid for many reasons. One, they fit the needs of what we were asking for, as well as their price point was quite excellent. This training will be for CSEP staff and the other 10 counties in the CSEP community, and then any spots that are not filled by those agencies and organizations, we can reach out to other organizations and departments to fill the seats. We have this 28,075 gives us 35 seats for 35 students. 3 classes over 3. We're planning on spreading it out over a couple months just to allow students to come to the classes, and obviously this is time they have to spend away from their day-to-day work. So there'll be 3 classes, 1 day each. And then another reason we selected Franklin Covey is because they have some online options, and you can actually work to get a certificate in leadership. So we think it's a lot of good things happening in the organization. We are adding more staff as we go into DMIL, and with that, we want to provide that leadership training to those staff members.
Dustin, these bids were all over the board, from 28,000 to 97,000.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel comfortable with the group you selected?
We do. Not only myself, but Teresa Stalker, our training and exercise officer, and Jennifer Hitch, our finance officer, they reviewed these actually before I even took a look at them. That was their recommendation as I took a look at it as well. I do feel comfortable with that selection.
So that could be as much as a $70,000 savings right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it provides us the ability to take our training budget and do more with it, and maybe more of this exact thing as we move forward this year.
But Stephen Covey, but Stephen Covey is the author of the 7 Habits of Leadership. I mean, he's the godfather of leadership training, and that's why they gave the Franklin company gave him basically half their company to come on board. He's passed away since, but they are an excellent organization.
Do you use some of his materials, Ken?
Oh, I grew up on it. Yeah, I mean that's what we in manufacturing. We went through a lot of training courses that were.
Well, you'd have thought that training would have had you smile more.
No.
No?
It's about getting things done.
Okay.
Not about making people happy.
Yeah. Some of the other FEMA training actually uses Stephen Covey's books as in their leadership trainings as well. So,
That's good.
So with that being said, I'd just like to ask the court if they could go with our recommendation of Franklin Covey for our leadership training at a price point of $28,075.
And that says up to 35 students. Will you have more? Could you have more? Is there a possibility you'd have more?
Is there a possibility? Not with that price point. We can. Our cap is 35.
Your cap is 35? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. So y'all heard Dustin's recommendation. If y'all agree to proceed, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion to proceed with Franklin Covey for the hiring.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. No more discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Botkin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Thanks,
Thank you
Dustin.
all.
Appreciate it. Next is personnel. This is environmental and animal care promotion. Scott.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to recommend that Animal Control Officer Bobby Aldridge be moved from Animal Control Officer number 1 to Animal Control Officer number 2 with euthanization certification. Bobby has been an asset to our department since we hired him last spring and would be a great fit for this recommendation. His rate of pay would move from $9.50 to $10.50, effective on January 9th.
Sounds like when you go from 1 to 2, you're getting a demotion. Or did you say that correct?
Animal Control Officer level 1 and then Animal Control Officer level 2. So 2's moving up.
Got you.
If y'all approve the recommendation by Scott on Bobby Aldridge to be promoted from Animal Control Officer number 1 to Animal Control Officer number 2, current salary $9.50 would increase it to $10.50, effective January the 9th. I need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion. Have a second? No discussion. Call the roll.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Botkin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Thanks. Appreciate it, Scott. Next, we need to go back into executive session for a personnel matter. I need a motion and a second to go into executive session again, please.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Master Buckin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Hey,
Made a good point.
we got them. This has been the longest one yet. So call the roll, please.
Master Combs?
Here.
Master Barger?
Here.
Master Tudor?
Here.
Master Buckin? Here. Judge Taylor?
Yes, here. Next, we'll take action on the executive session. At this time, do I have a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'd like to make a motion that we terminate Michael Bryan effective immediately.
I have a motion to terminate Michael Bryan effective immediately. Do I have a second? Second?
Second.
Well, I mean, I can second. Yeah. So I got a second. No discussion. Call the roll, please.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Buckin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Do I have another
Judge,
motion?
I make a motion, we terminate Isaiah Webb immediately.
In the road department? Do I have a second?
I'll say it.
So I have a motion and a second on termination of Isaiah Webb. No more discussion. Call the roll.
Give me a signature, run me out of paper. Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Buckin?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. All right, next is the judge's report. I'm supposed to make mention to all elected officials. Francette, look at me while I'm saying this, okay? I'm supposed to make a report to remember to file your financial disclosures for all the newly elected officials, and that ends by January 31st, I think it has to be turned in by, and it is available on our website. All right, so everybody got that that's here, that's an elected official. You have your financial disclosure forms that you need to fill out and turn in. And for all of us, we've been doing it every year, right? But as is new term, the new ones need to do that. Okay? All right. I've got a few announcements to make. Let's see. Madison County is proud to welcome back the Kentucky All-A Classic on Wednesday, January the 23rd through Sunday, January 27th. All games will be played at EKU's Alumni Coliseum. Contact Richmond Tourism if you'd like to volunteer. Man, it's a great week/weekend. It brings a lot of people into Madison County. Traffic is a lot of times bad on EKU bypass, so during those time frames, if you can make plans to sort of go a different direction, it sure helps the bypass out. So great event, good groups that come in here. There's a Unity Breakfast will be held on January 21st, 2019. If you are attending this event in March, please RSVP to 859-248-5564 or the human rights at richmond.ky.us. And is that happening at your all's church?
I don't know.
I believe that breakfast is happening, and Francette's already gone. I believe that breakfast is happening at the First Christian Church there in Richmond. Richmond Chamber of Commerce Legislative Update Luncheon will be Thursday, January 24th from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at EKU's Perkins Building. The scheduled speakers for that event are State Senator Jared Carpenter, State Representatives Deanna Frazier, Les Yates, Travis Brenda, and Robert Goforth. To register, contact Richmond Chamber of Commerce. Madison County courthouses and its related offices will be closed Monday, January 21st for Martin Luther King holiday. Offices will reopen on Tuesday, January 22nd at 8 a.m. That's all I have. Department heads, comments from department heads.
I'd just like to thank you, sir, and the court for reappointing me.
You're welcome. Sit back down.
That's the longest speech he's ever given.
I know. Yeah, I didn't want his legs to get weak, so I told him to sit back down. He was standing up too long. All right. Let's see. So this is the new year, and I believe it is Tom Botkin's turn to start back the rotation.
Short and sweet, Judge. The only thing I want to say is that we've had a rash of dumping across the 4th District. And, I mean, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of manpower to go out and clean it up. Please put your trash somewhere besides the roadside.
Thank you. John?
I don't have much to say, Judge. I just,
I'm glad.
I'll let it go at that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the job you do. Roger?
Due to the time frame, I'm gonna pass. Appreciate all the employees.
Yeah. Thanks. Larry?
Just glad to be here, Judge.
Glad you're here. Kenny?
Luke?
Sheriff?
Don't have a thing. I appreciate you all taking care of the Madison County Sheriff's Office as usual. Thank you.
Jailer Tussey?
Glad to be here, excited, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
You're still in timeout.
I lied to her. She asked me earlier how long they usually last. I said usually an hour to hour and a half.
It is. This is a record. We've made history today, guys, in Madison County. We've made history. All right. Comments from the audience. None seen. All right. Moving on. Pay the claims and approve the transfers. I need a motion in a second. Call the roll, please.
Master Bakker?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Next meeting, January 22nd, 2019. That will be in Richmond. Again, that's January the 22nd, 2019 in Richmond at 9:30. I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Tudor?
Yes.
Master Bakken?
Yes.
Judge Taylor?
Yes. Hey, Mayor Fraley's gonna be wanting to charge us rent after these long meetings.
Nice to meet you. Yes.
Hey, thanks,
Very nice meeting you. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Hey, call me, next couple days.
Well, I'll try. I'll do my best to implement them successfully.